Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I am your host, Kim Wanup. Welcome to the podcast. It's a good thing this is a podcast and we're not face-to-face because I'm sick again. I don't get it. This is like the sickest year I think I've had. I feel like I'm sick all the time, and my kids aren't even in school yet. But I have been sick for the last 4 days, and it has been worse than COVID. I'm not even telling you. I didn't even leave the bed today, and I'm on day 4 or 5. I've taken naps. My kids have been amazing through this, most likely because of the introduction of letting them play Super Mario Brothers. And we have watched so much TV, which benefits you and I. But I don't know. I got pink eye. I got strep throat. I'm hot. I'm cold. I'm chattering. But no cold and no cough. This is what's odd. My voice is a little strained because of the sore throat, which sore to the point that like the left side of my throat was like bulging. I'm sorry, graphic. But yeah, so thank goodness it's a podcast. You can't catch it from me. I wouldn't want to give it to anyone. I wouldn't put this on anyone. This has been awful. My husband and I both have it. The kids were light with it. They only had fevers. Good for them. And sniffles and whatever. But they always have sniffles, so who knows? So, I have watched a lot of TV the last couple dames. Some oldies but goodies. Still, of course, keeping up with what's on now. Barry, Somebody Somewhere, White House Plumbers. Succession is unreal. The funeral episode last night is, and if you watch the like making of or like telling their story, whatever they call it after the end, and how the director plays the scene because they had limited time in the location, made him pivot to a way to shoot it, which is really something I don't know if people understand, is that you might only get that church, which I've never shot. It couldn't have been a Catholic church, right? Because I don't think you can shoot in Catholic churches, but not to say that the Roys are Catholic. I don't know. Beautiful church, beautiful location. But yeah, they probably only had like one afternoon after masses or after services. And so, yeah, I'm sure that was a tough shoot for them if they're saying he had to pivot his style of shooting it because of constraints of the location. So yeah, beautifully shot, wonderful writing. I'm really, I guess, not thinking about writers a lot, but in the last week I feel that there have been things that I have watched where I have been so impressed with the writing. This week's episode of The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Tony Shalhoub gives a wonderful performance of him slowly realizing that he might be wrong. He might be wrong in life. And out of that, he comes to a realization that he might not have given his daughter the support and the encouragement that she needed, and he focused all on his son. And I was brought to tears. I thought, wow, if only people could make this realization as parents in life early on, or if you're doing it or something. I don't know. I just thought it was brilliantly written and wonderful acting, and if anything, try to catch that scene, and it's just he's so good, and the scene is great, and it's in this tiny little, New York restaurant, and I always love New York locations. Always have these like low roofs sometimes, like in restaurants. It really brings the scenes in. And that show has just really sparkled in this last season. So I'm a big fan of Miss Maisel this season. Now I did some throwbacks. We did The Great Outdoors, which the boys really liked because of the bear. Production designer John Corso and set decorator John Anderson. I might have seen, I'm pretty sure I saw that in the theater. Pretty sure I did. And I probably haven't seen it for about 10 years. It's not my favorite John Candy movie, but it's pretty good because, Aykroyd is just giving that like Gecko douchebag, not Gecko, yeah, Gordon Gekko, like douchebaggery of like the late 80s that is so good. He's just so good in it. He's such a prick. And now watching it, you can see the like forced storyline, like the D storyline of the teenage romance between the oldest son and the local girl. It's like, I don't want to fall in love. You'll be gone in a week. And then you're like, girl, he's gone in like 2 days. Only there for like the weekend now. But there's like cuts to him going to see her. He's in like a different outfit. And then like the next cut, he's home with a bowl of popcorn listening to stories from his dad in a different outfit. And it's just funny how, they probably got notes that they had to force that story for like a summer, trying to get teenagers into that movie, but it's still pretty funny. And, it's a good old one. And then I hit up Cable Guy, Cable Guy with Jim Carrey and Matthew Broderick. I have always loved this movie. It's a perfect 90s palette, by the way, of like the darker side of the 90s. It's not like You've Got Mail or Sleepless in Seattle or something where it's all beiges. This is like the grays and the blues and like the flannels that are darker, and production designed by Sharon Seymour and decorated by Maggie Martin. There are so many great lines of Jim Carrey in this movie. It's unbelievable. It does hit a point in the movie where it gets stupid and silly, but Matthew Broderick's great. And it's basically so many actors from the Ben Stiller show because he directed. I mean, even I saw like Kathy Griffin plays like Jim Carrey's mom in a flashback. It's unreal. But Jim Carrey is unbelievable in that role. He's a nut. It was so good. And again, there's so many good one-liners that he says. I love it. I laughed out loud so much. I don't care. You could judge me on that. I don't care. It's really good. The other show that I binged in 2 days was Bad Sisters on Apple Plus. It's an Irish comedy about 5 sisters, and one of their husbands is a prick, and they plot to kill him. And at first you're like, oh, that's stupid, kind of. But then I don't know these actresses. They are so well cast and do so well in these roles that I just couldn't stop watching it. And the guy who plays the dick husband is so good. It's written so well, like how to belittle someone and how mean people can be to each other. It's really good. It's really creative, and the 5 sister types, different personalities, but the same family and family secrets and all that. 2 days. It took me 2 days to get through 10 episodes. There was like a B story that I did fast forward a little bit through. You know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't care. But yeah, Bad Sisters, Apple TV. That was good. So we're starting our little Emmy preview here with this episode of last year's winner, Regina Graves. And then coming up, we'll have Anastasia White, the production designer of White House Plumbers, Erin McGill, production designer of Dead Ringers, Rocco Matteo, production designer of Rabbit Hole, Jamie McCall, production designer of Schmegadoon, season 2, and more. I'm still working on a couple. It's hard. It's not even like people aren't working, but like people are so busy and people are working, and coordinating is cool. I know. And I usually ask this at the end, but hey, if you could rate and review this podcast on your listening platform, it would be so very helpful, and thank you so much. On today's episode, I speak with the super talented set decorator, Regina Graves. Regina's career has bounced back and forth from film to TV, and last year she won an Emmy for her gorgeous decorating on HBO's The Gilded Age. We also hear about her experience working with legendary director Martin Scorsese on The Irishman. We talk about her work with production designers like Kristen Z, Bob Shaw, Michael Riva, and more. Her work has been a total inspiration to me, and I know many others. She was fun and funny, and I think we're friends. I don't know. We'll see. We keep emailing back and forth, which is kind of nice. And yeah. So, and I was very humbled that she even knew about this podcast. So, yes. So I hope you enjoy. Did you do season 2 of Gilded Age? Is that what you finished?
Didn't.
You didn't?
Lisa Scopa did season 2 of The Gilded Age. So I left The Gilded Age because I was supposed to go start an Amazon series that was sci-fi, super futuristic. And I've never done that before with Howard Cummings. And
nice.
Based on these books called Ancillary Justice.
Oh, wow.
And we were all geared up to do that, and I left, The Gilded Age only because I've never done a sci-fi. I love The Gilded Age, but it was just I had an opportunity to do something I've never done, but after prep, a couple of months of prep, that fell through because the actress or something fell through, and we ended up the whole crew, including Howard, ended up rolling into another Amazon show for Jonah Nolan. Based on the video game Fallout. And that's like post-apocalyptic, another thing I've never done. And it ended up being, one episode into 10, I think 8 or 10 episodes. I'm not even sure how many they're going to end up splitting it into.
Oh, wow.
But I worked on that for the past year and a half.
Oh, and wow.
That's where I've been.
Oh, wow. I mean, I can totally relate about the sci-fi because I finished the 4th season of For All Mankind. And I've always wanted to do space, and I was kind of like, oh, it's a lot of pipe and a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, the super cool shit that you actually get to do is kind of minuscule. There's not a lot of dressing in space. I mean, we're responsible for all those pipes and everything, but once you really get into it, you're like,
all the gack.
I don't know. Let's get some more gadgets and buttons in here, and like, it wasn't.
Yeah, a lot of that was like this past show we did. The same thing. A lot of gack, a lot of buttons, a lot of old building materials, things like that. But we also had some fun sets, like because everything is kind of like retro 50s.
Oh, that's great.
Building into the vaults, and they were just some really huge things. And we built a whole city on a back lot, and.
Oh, that's great. 1.5 years. Wow.
A year. Well, yeah, I'm kind of cheating because 1.5 years did include the prep for the other show. So I felt like I was just, out of it for that long. But it was at least a year, from prep till finish.
Wow.
And yeah, these streaming things are just getting so huge and so intense. And
I know. Well, even the impeachment that I did was a year and a half with the 5 months of COVID in there. But basically, every episode we did was a month. It took a month per episode. It basically was like 10 months at least, plus prep. It's a lot. And that was FX. I don't know. No one was looking. I don't know. No one was paying attention to us. It was kind of nice. Like, I don't know what happened, but it was crazy ridiculous. But I hope that wasn't your experience. I mean, we didn't have scripts. We didn't have, like, it was kind of ridiculous and hard.
Yeah, there was a little bit of craziness involved. But yeah, it feels, it's like when you have a baby, it's a blur now. Now you just go back and say, oh, it was so great, I'll do it all over again. Yeah. At the moment, you're just like, oh my God, get me off this.
Yes. Yeah. And I read you have 2 kids?
I do.
2. How, that's one of the things people either ask me or I have asked everyone for years of kind of like being a parent in this business and how you do it, and you just do it. I feel like it's like, how do you get into the union?
Yeah.
You just, I don't know, it just happens.
You just do it. And, my kids are older now. They're 26 and 22. Mm-hmm. So, when I had my kids, my daughter, I was actually pregnant with her and I was working on the Ricky Lake show. So you could tell how old I am. So that was way back when. And I worked until I was like, 9 months pregnant with her. And that was a little bit different because on the Ricky Lake show, I was more of a prop person. It wasn't like I was decorating these big sets. So I was getting like a lot of hand props and wedding rings and kind of stupid things like that. And with my son, the same thing. I worked until, I think I worked probably like 2 weeks before I had him. And I was working as a shopper then, as a buyer. So, I just kept on working, but going through like their whole childhood and the school years and everything as I became an assistant and then a decorator, you really just have to like juggle it. There were some, school events that I did miss, sadly, that now, but as they were getting a little bit older, I was like, you know what, I can't, the job gets done. I think our job gets done no matter what, you can go home at 5 or go home early or pick it up later in the day and you find out, I don't know. You just have to kind of juggle it and make space, and your family is more important than, even though your job's important. I'm not saying that in the wrong way, but it's just like a matter of juggling it all, I think. Setting your priorities and making sure you don't take too much of the job home.
Yeah. Well, I think
even though it's hard.
I think the priority though, like before you have kids and you're in this job, you're like, I can't imagine, like if I had to leave in the middle of the day for a dentist, like I could never do that. And then like it comes up and you're like, all right, I will be right back. Everything will be fine. I'll be right back. And you stress about it, but you go, you do your thing, and you, like you said, you pick it up. But the prioritizing changes once you have the kids and you figure it out, I feel like.
Definitely.
Because I think before kids, I would ask decorators, I don't understand how you do it. I don't understand how you have kids, you take them to school, you're picking them up, like their sports, everything. Like, you just figure it out. You just do day by day. You get a good support system. You get a good crew, and you just do it. And I'd be like, I could never leave, or I could never do that. And then like once it happens, you're like, bye. I gotta go do this. Everything's taken care of. Bye. I'll be right back.
But it's like what we do. It's what we do on a daily basis. Like we're always juggling things and making lists and getting things done. And it's kind of, they kind of it goes hand in hand with that, I think also. Yeah. Right? Just getting it all taken care of. Because there are days still, people don't understand. It's especially even with COVID. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I get sick? I can't be out of work. Who's going to do the job, or who's going to dress the set, or who's going to do this?
No.
We kind of feel like we're not replaceable in any way. Like we have to be there. We have to see it through. And I very rarely take off.
No.
I hope, I pray that I don't get sick.
I had COVID. I think I was incommunicado for maybe 20 hours, and that was it. Like the rest of the time I was Zooming meetings, I was Zooming the scout. I was like still not totally sick, but No, it's, you don't really get days off to be sick ever. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you're in the bathroom, you still gotta like handle a call sometimes.
Yep,
It's
you're on.
so completely ridiculous. But that's one of the things you try to convey to people of like, it all of a sudden it's so a part of your life that it's never ending. Unless you're not on a show, and then you're off for a couple weeks and you're like, I gotta get back on it. It's a
Exactly.
weird...
That's what I'm like now. I'm like, oh, I couldn't wait to get off. I couldn't
It's
wait
so
to
weird.
have some time off. And now, like I said, I'm going into, maybe it's my 3rd or 4th week, and I'm just like, oh, I have to start doing something, or I have to start looking for a job because I turned some down, or just like I'm getting a little antsy here.
Yeah. So how did you get into decorating?
So I've always been pretty like artistic. My background, I've always liked the arts and everything. And I went to school for interior design.
Oh, me too.
We got a lot in common.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to be an interior designer, but I wanted to concentrate more on like hospitality and do hotels and restaurants, stuff like that.
Me too. I was into theme design. I was so into like all those restaurants in like the 90s, like Rainforest Cafe and like that type of shit. That was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And but I went to school at New York School of Interior Design.
Yeah.
And when I got out and I was looking for jobs, I just wasn't finding anything in that field. Or I'd go for internships or like beginner jobs, things like that. And I just I wasn't getting the job. So one day when I was reading the Village Voice, that's how like we got our jobs back then, going through like the Wednesday, Village Voice. And I was going through some ads and came across this ad. It was someone who likes movies, has an interior design background, knows their periods, has some sales, experience, blah, blah, blah. And it was for a prop house, which I had no idea. It was Eclectic Encore. Oh. And that's all it gave. So I remember calling the phone, speaking to the owner of the prop house, and she was like, she was very vague, didn't really tell me like anything about where I was going, just if I can come meet her for an interview. And I went, like the following week, I went for an interview with her and walked around, never even stepped foot in a prop house in my life. And back then Surrey was down, it was on 26th Street, and the warehouse wasn't as set up as nicely as it is now. And now she moved anyway to Long Island City. But anyway, it was my first time in a prop house, and she basically showed me around. She was looking for a salesperson. I was on a trial for like 2 weeks and ended up staying there, loving it. Had no idea really. Watched movies my whole life. Never really, knew that there was a set decorator. I always saw like art director.
Yeah.
On the credits, never a set decorator. So I didn't really know like what that role was. But met a lot of set decorators that would come in, met a lot of art directors that were coming in for music videos and commercials and things like that. And I stayed with Eclectic for like 4 years, and then realized like, this is what I want to do. It's like interior design, but not. Yeah. And everything just kind of fell into place, and left her, started doing non-union music videos and terrible little projects, and did a non-union movie, and finally got into the union and just kind of went from there. Started out as a set dresser for years. I was a set dresser and ran a set dressing shop. Oh, wow. Because it wasn't really busy. Like back in the early 90s when I got my card and finally got in, I was on a huge availability list, and I finally got a phone call to be a set dresser. And I just ended up with a really great lead man who kept on hiring me because he really liked me. And just like I said, started out at the bottom and worked my way up and finally became a buyer. And then, bought for a really good, I had a great, I was very fortunate to work for really good decorators in New York.
Some of your your buyer credits are incredible too.
I worked for like great people. I worked for, Beth Rubino, Deborah Shute, George DeTita. Yeah. I worked for a woman named Jessica Lanier. That's who really gave me my big start in like the Woody Allen movies. And then, after years of Susan Boda, after years of like working for these people, I turned down a lot of jobs back then, even like because like low budget jobs. I didn't feel like I was ready to be a decorator. Because I knew that if I wanted to be a decorator, I wanted to be a really good decorator. I just didn't want to jump. I don't think it's something you could jump into like today. A lot of people, I think, kind of want to make that jump really quickly.
Yeah.
But I learned from a lot of great people, and finally got my first shot at being a decorator on a Woody Allen movie, and we went from there. But even when I was a decorator, I would go back, and I'd still go back to like assist somebody, or do like a set or two for them.
Yeah.
But that's just how my career began.
That's fantastic. I mean, you were talking about that. I'm like, oh my God, it's like Desperately Seeking Susan. She's like looking through the paper and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm thinking about. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like incredible. Meant to be. And it was funny because, back in, my gosh, I think I started working for Surrey back in like 1989 or something. I think she had just moved down to 26th Street, and New York was not, it wasn't like it was today. And I remember I'm like I'm from New Jersey. I came over through like the subway, the path, and jump on a subway, and I get out on 8th Avenue and 23rd Street and had to walk down to like 12th Avenue, and there were still prostitutes down there at the time. And I'm like, where the hell am I going? I'm in this drag. I'm in like a drag. I didn't know where like I was going. Instead of walking past prostitutes in this really crappy building, go up and meet her. I'm like, what is this? All these like, rows and rows of furniture, all different periods. And
I love that you didn't know. I love that she didn't give you, I love that she didn't really even give you a clue of like, she probably figured you knew, or like.
No, that's just how she is.
I have no idea.
That's just how she is. It was really vague. I remember she gave me a little bit of background of like what she was looking for. And then we went to walk her dog, Charlie. I'll never forget that. We went walked down the street on 26th Street, walked the dog, and she left me on the corner and said, okay, I'll see you Monday. You'll have like a 2-week trial. And the 2 weeks that I was there, she hardly ever spoke to me. She just was like, okay, start here. And I started like in the blanket department, and I just folded all the blankets and put them, the quilts with the quilts, and the stripes with the stripes, and, the picnic blankets with the picnic blankets. And every day, like I would work on something different than the lampshades, put all the pairs of lampshades together and the colors together, and then move down. And then she would just walk by and like look at me. I mean, I didn't even help a customer there probably for, I don't know, 6 months or something. I think I was just like the cleaning person, to be honest with you.
But she didn't micromanage it, sounds like. So that's good.
No,
that's always good.
Then she didn't say anything to me after 2 weeks, so I figured I was hired. Just like, I'll see you Monday.
Yeah. I'm just going to George Costanza this and come in. And just like
but then she was great. I learned a lot from her. Surrey's a really smart woman, and she really did teach me a lot. So I had a lot of great people to work for. Like I said, I was very fortunate.
I have no idea. Is that prop house still around?
Yeah, Eclectic is one of the biggest prop houses in New York.
I thought I had heard of it, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it's Eclectic Encore, and she has probably the most variety of, just like her name, Eclectic, the variety of furniture from, French, 17th century all the way to current time. I mean, she doesn't really specialize in contemporary, but if you want to go dress a 1950s set, you can get everything there.
Oh, nice. It sounds like Omega here, kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How was working on Woody Allen films? I'm sure you had a script. It sounds like he always has I don't know. I'm assuming that. But
no, I mean, it was great working on Woody Allen films. I've done, I worked with Santo Loquasto on them. Most of them were period. Yeah. And I love a period film. They're all, it's all like the quintessential. It's a quintessential like New York film, where New York is like your whole backdrop. It's part of the show. It's part of the cast. And, I learned so much. Again, not even like Woody being Woody, because you have to take that away from like his separate that from like his movie making talents. But there was always a great crew, and like I said, I learned so much, and like working, like I said, keeping New York as a backdrop. It was like a family, and sometimes we would do like 2 films a year with Woody. It would be like a fall project and a spring project.
That's what I mean. He had those years
he had them for years. We would do
busting out so many that it
and then it slowed down.
Yeah.
The last movie I did with them was Wonder Wheel. And,
which is recent.
Even
right? It was like 2017 or something. No,
I think it was like 2017, 2018 maybe. Yeah. Maybe 2000. I don't even know. Kind of, but that was the last one that I did. And you could tell he was like slowing down a little bit, but it was still, again, a great project to work on. And we don't really have that. You have to be really resourceful on a Woody Allen movie because you don't have that much money. We don't have a huge budget at all in the set deck department. And you have to just be very mindful of what we have, and they're really good about what we're going to see and, the shooting days and all of that. But that's, I learned a lot from Santo, like I said, from his theater background, to be really resourceful. And like you said, like the one sofa rule and all of that, and just like trying to find things that'll work. Like you don't always need the $125 yard of fabric to make it look like $1 million, things like that you would learn.
The period stuff though, you always
definitely
need a little more money, but
no,
you hope you get it. But I was wondering with his projects, if there's a lot of shooting it as is to get the authentic look, but having seen some of those movies, it doesn't look like you did. It looks like you had to go in and like Blue Jasmine, like all that type of things. Like
you like meaning like when we shoot on locations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's really funny. A lot of you would think that you would just shoot as is, but most of the time, I'm going to say 80-90% of the time, we go in, we're pulling out. You're pulling out like, I don't know, 80% of the furniture, putting new window treatments in and light fixtures and, furnishings, everything. I mean, just because we're at a location, sometimes we might say, hey, we'll leave that or leave that. That's great. But the majority is we're redoing the whole thing. And a lot of it also is because, there's like certain colors that Woody liked and, a lot of, so if we walked into an apartment, there's like a green sofa and that's going.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good too. Repetitiveness of working with a designer, and I'm sure, and with Woody, their relationship and knowing what you want and knowing right away, like, okay, we got to do this and this without even, big discussions and meetings and stuff.
And that's what it was like. It was just so easy. After a while, you just fall into a groove, and I knew like I could walk into a store. I know what Santo likes. I know what Woody's, what he'll react to and what they like and what they don't like. And it was just so easy.
I think there's something too with his type of movies and other filmmakers where I want to know what the 90s look like. You can go to reference of that film. And I know that you were, it says set dresser on You've Got Mail, but I reference You've Got Mail all the time as like one of the perfect like 90s style movies. Like I love that movie. I love the look of it. Yeah. I think it's just like a pinpoint of like, oh, it's a reference.
Yeah, that was a great movie to work on. And that again, they had two decorators on that. That was Ellen Christensen and Susan Boda, who, did a beautiful job on that.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I reference a lot of movies too, like, oh, I love that or I love that. And a lot of them are, it's really funny. Susan gets embarrassed, but I really do reference a lot of her movies because they all just look so real and lived in,
yes,
which I love.
Yes. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of projects in the last year or so that are 90s and you reference it, and we know when you live through something, you're like, no, I know what that is. And then you're like, God, did we have all that? I don't remember. It's just Christ. Everything was like flowers and shabby chic. Did we really?
Yeah.
What is that shit? Like,
yeah. I feel like that when I'm watching like Stranger Things, and I'm like, when they see the 80s, I'm like, oh, I had that.
Yeah.
I'm always looking, saying, oh, and I love the way that looks because I can relate to it. So I'm like, oh God, did we really live like that? And then I look back at photos, I'm like, oh, we did.
Yeah. Or I recently, it was like the 2000s. Because on Mankind, it was the 2000s, and I was like, oh my God, I can actually reference my own work now. Like, what? sets I did in the early 2000s. I'm like, oh, all right. That's what I used then. That was contemporary then. So yeah, that's fun. You do work with the same designers a lot, which is nice. I mean, it's Santiago, right? Am I saying that right? Or no?
Santo, yeah. Santo. So I've worked with Santo. I think we counted last time, I think 9 or 10 times. I worked with Bob Shaw.
Yeah.
Probably 4. Howard Cummings, I've worked. It's like I worked 2 seasons with him. I'm not sure if you call that 2 or 3, on the Nick and then this show. So it's like 3 times. So yeah, I mean, I do work with the same designers, which I hope that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, I love that.
They want to work with me again.
I love, yeah. I always think it's a compliment when someone keeps calling. Yeah, that's always good.
Or that, like, if you're like their first call, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And plus, for me, that puts it's just more of a confidence builder, and I feel like that's, like you said, a compliment, and they respect you, and they like know that you have a good rapport with them, and you can work with them, and I can go to them, and trust. I really like that.
Yeah, they trust. Like, oh, I know I can trust her on this project. This is what we need to get done. I love the Nick. I was so bummed when that didn't go on. Like,
no,
I love that show, and the look of it was like, I was blown away, like, just watching all of that, and like the opium, like the harem stuff, like, and then the hospitals and the houses. I just loved all of it, and I'm creeped out by all of it.
I was creeped out, and I knew half of it was fake, but yeah, some of the scenes I still watch them, like, I have to like turn away.
But what a
that was a really great project. And I'll tell you a little secret. We were supposed to go back. There was a season 3, and they jumped to like the 1940s. And we had like an outline, and we even did a little bit of prep for it. And then Cinemax like pulled the plug. They were like, no. I mean, because no one even watched Cinemax, which was sad, because back when we did the Nick, a lot of people, when I would say, oh, did you see the Nick? And they're like, what is that? Because I don't think Cinemax was really like a big deal. Like, I wish it was on HBO, because that would have been.
Well, it is now, though. Like, you can watch it all now, which is great. Maybe they'll bring it back. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a great show, and I was so bummed when we didn't go back, even because the 1940s, like, that would have been a great look also.
It was so. I hate that time. I hate anything really from that, like, weird medical experiment ages. Like, all those, this is cringe of, like, what they were doing back then, but such an interesting story. It's one of those shows that you look back and you're like, damn, that would have been good. Like, if that went on, where would it have gone? You don't even, like, I can't even imagine where that story would have gone. But yeah, that was great.
Well, I'm glad you like that show. I a lot of the times when I listen to a couple of your podcasts, you would start out and you would say like what you were watching that week.
Oh yeah.
What do you? And it's really funny. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I hope she's not watching like something I did, and she's gonna say it was terrible.
Oh God.
Because you're really honest. You're brutally honest sometimes. Like, oh, I hate the look of that one.
Well, I mean,
I love it though.
I know I try to be honest of like, I didn't like the show, but I like the look of it. Or I've kind of like, to be honest, if I don't like the look of it, I kind of don't bring it up. I kind of don't. I try not to bring it up if I don't like the look of it. But I know how hard it is to do everything, so I can't not have sympathy for how hard it was to even get to there.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I was talking to with Tar. I was talking to now Hiller. I can't even remember her first name. It's so bad. I'm so bad with names. And I was trying to get, like, I liked the look of the film, but it was not good, right? Like, I don't know what happened.
The movie, yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, and she started to go into it of like, it's not really what we read. Like, we read a completely different story. Like, they edited out so much. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because I don't get it. I don't get why people like this movie. I don't. I mean, Kate Blanchett's fantastic, but I just didn't like it. I don't know.
Yeah, the first time, it's really funny. I watched it. The first time I watched it, I really liked it, but I'm not sure if I liked it because of the sets, because I really loved her apartment.
Yes.
Well, both her apartments in Germany. I could have moved into either one of them. But then I watched it again. I watched it with my mother, so my mother could watch it because she was staying over, and then I said, what was I thinking the first time I saw it? Because my mother looked at me and goes, what was that?
Yeah. I don't... Apparently after she gets, like, beat up in that alley, the rest of it is a dream, apparently, I read an article from the director. And
really?
And the decorator was telling me all of this backstory about her parents, because I loved her childhood room. And like her childhood, and you saw that staircase and then her bedroom. Like her parents had like hearing problems and blah, blah, blah. And she went all into it. I'm like, well, that's a good movie. That I would have liked.
Well, see, I wish I would have known that. I mean, you can get a little bit of the backstory with like all her tapes and when the brother walked in and then she ends up at the school somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, was she always an abuser? Is she just has issues? Yeah.
There's just a disconnect that I think as a viewer you found, like, did I miss it? It's like, I didn't really like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I thought I missed something, and then I rewound it, and then I go, oh, I didn't miss anything. I just don't know what's going on. And there was so much, like, fighting and everything, and I was like, all right, I gotta focus on, like, I gotta, and you're like your mom, like, I'm just trying to do like 20 things at once, and I'm like, all right, I gotta focus on this because I know it's gonna win Best Picture. I just want to watch it, and I didn't get it. I mean, I get it that it's like the struggle of the mom and blah 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 blah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. And that one I watched with my daughter, and she was getting pissed off at me because I kept on saying, what are they doing? What's going on here?
Yeah.
She's like trying to explain it to me. I said, okay.
And everything's so long. Tar's like 2.5 hours. This one, 2.5 hours. What happened to an hour and 45? You're in, you're out, you're laughing. What happened to like Steel Magnolias? And like, the only time you had a 3-hour movie was like Oliver Stone and Scorsese. That's the only thing keeping your ass in the seat for 3 hours. Now everybody thinks they can do 3 hours. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not right. That's not fair.
Hmm.
I think The Saints of New York was really long too, wasn't it?
Oh gosh. Well, The Irishman was really long.
Oh, The Irishman was really long.
Longer than it should have been.
But that's Scorsese.
I shouldn't really say. Really shouldn't have been made.
The Irishman?
No, that movie I had a great time.
Oh, The Saints.
There's Many Saints of Newark.
Saints of Newark. Here's the thing, and when I talked to Bob about it too. I had just binged Sopranos again, and was like really like getting in the mood for. I knew it was coming up. And it was like, oh, I thought it would be a little bit better.
Well,
but I liked it because I was such a fan of Sopranos that you want to like something so much. But the look was phenomenal. I mean, that's a different story. But yeah, I'm not going to watch it again.
I just think people don't really care about Uncle Dickie. I think people wanted to know more about Tony and Tony's backstory. Exactly. That was my feeling about it. And that's what when I was reading, I go, who really cares about Dickie? People want to know where Tony came from and how Tony, became who he was.
Yes.
Right? Don't you think that would have been more interesting? Like his development, his whole.
Well, then I thought, well, are they just setting this up for like Tony's for the next one? Like, then I was like, is this just a setup? Then we take Tony from teenage years and develop that? Like, is that what they're gonna do? And then
I mean, that I'll watch. Yeah, they should do something like that for sure. I think people will be much much more interested.
But the period aspect of that and New York and that like grittiness of mob and everything, it's fantastic. I mean, you're kind of like all mobbed up for a while, the Irishman and the Saints. I mean,
I kind of lived that. I mean,
yeah. So you're from Jersey or you're from New York?
I'm from Jersey. Yeah. You can't tell my voice.
Well, and my Philly's coming out talking to you. I don't know.
Oh, you're from Philly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Taylor ham or pork roll?
Taylor pork roll. Yeah, Taylor pork roll. Yeah. Taylor ham? No, pork roll.
No, we call it Taylor ham. But
anyway. I call it pork roll.
Yeah, I mean, just because like the whole New Jersey thing, and I grew up like by Newark, New Jersey, and my family's an Italian American background, and yeah, it's just it's funny because that the whole Sopranos thing that comes really easy to me, and the Saints of Newark, and working with Bob, and Bob's family is like Italian American also, and you know the whole, yeah, like I say, just kind of I have a lot of friends, you know, families and things that I've been around, so it's kind of like live it and love it. Well, I mean, like love decorating it.
Right. Did you have anything, because it is Newark and it's like where you grew up, did you have anything of like, I had an aunt's sofa that was like
Oh, yeah.
You have that reference.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had like I have an aunt who still you know, she had like the big Venetian light up painting behind her sofa, and the big Roma, the big white like marble Roma Italianate furniture, and you know, all the white carpeting, and you know, in the 70s had like the red damask you know, wallpaper and stuff like that, like the flocked. It was totally.
Oh my god.
Always going back to like the reference photos. Even my grandmother's house, like even when I did the Irishman, the dining, one of the dining room sets, like I basically copied my grandmother's dining room.
Oh, that's great. I love doing that. I love having like some sort of reference from like personalized that you can put in the set. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the best type of research of like, oh yeah, I know this. I know exactly what this is. Like, yeah.
But you know, it makes your job easier, and I really love those kind of movies when you can relate like your background or like your you know, family or something to it. It just, and I think you can add a lot more personality to it. So it's fun.
How is like, I think I had asked Bob this too, like working with Scorsese of like, is he do notes trickle down, or is it like, I want this and this is what it is, or is it the freedom that you and the designer have to like present stuff, or is it already like, no, it has to be?
You know, I think Marty knows what he wants, and the thing is, Bob knows what Marty wants. You know, Bob has a really great relationship with him, and you know, they talk all the time, so the information kind of trickles down. I mean, I think I've maybe spoke to Marty once. You know, in all honesty, I mean, he does acknowledge people on set, but he's like all work.
Right.
But I think, you know, he knows what he wants, and he expresses that through Bob, and I just get a lot of notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or I know what like Bob wants, you know, and kind of go from there. Yeah. We work together on things.
He had, I think it was him who was talking about the mystery box.
Oh God, Bob's supply of mystery boxes. You know, when you're working on the period films, like you need them, you know, to cover up. You go in, and we're in some locations, and you know, you have like the big alarm systems, or who knows what we're covering up. And we had an arsenal, and everything's always like, oh, mystery box. And I think he coins that term. You know, he says that he's the one that started that mystery box.
I agree with him. I mean, we do it. I never called it a mystery box, but I was like,
what do you guys call it?
Oh, I call it the art department's problem. That's what I call it. Oh, that's funny. You know, like, lately, there's a nest over there. Are you guys going to take care of that? You going to build a box, or what are you going to do? Like, you know what? I was insulted so much on this last project because an art director who had maybe one credit was like, well, why don't you just put a picture there? I go, you want me to put a picture where the nest is, which is like height of like, you know, an electrical switch. I go, that's where you want me to put a picture? No, you can you figure that out. You paint over it.
I love that. Yeah, I love when that happens. No, it always becomes our problem at some point.
It does. You know? It does, and then that's why we're awesome because we eventually fix it, and they go back to their desks and make more money. So that's always great. I did recently rewatch The Irishman, I think like during Christmas or recently, and I can't take my eyes off of De Niro with the like the face. It was so distracting sometimes, but
his younger self,
Yeah, that I was like, damn, man, why didn't they just get like a younger De Niro? Like, I don't know. I think they just forced it so much that it's so distracting to me. But I really like that
Yeah.
movie. I love Pacino in it. I mean, I've probably seen it 3 times, at least. Like, I just love
Oh,
it.
did you like it though?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
some people either like it or or they hated it. It was one or the other.
No, I like it. And I think, too, I want to see De Niro and Pacino together. Like, I want those two actors. I love those scenes. And to see Pacino be such like a force and De Niro's so laid back, kind of. I just love those scenes between them, even though it's distracting with his young face. But I don't know. There's something like I appreciate so much the acting in the movie. I feel this, and I mean, and they dug out the other guy. Now I can't think of his name. Pesci, who, I mean, Casino is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Casino. And
Pesci, I mean, even Goodfellas. There's like such a dynamic between Joe Pesci and Bob De Niro, and even Harvey Keitel was in Irishman for a little while. So you had these huge actors, and it was just amazing to watch.
Yeah. I mean,
and to be a part of.
When they're old and they're in the jail and they're dipping the bread.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're just, it's so sad. It's so sad.
It was sad, and I'm glad you got that, because a lot of people would watch it, and I'd fight with them, I mean, I didn't write it, but, we take a lot of pride in what we work in.
Yeah.
But so many people were like, oh, this is not Goodfellas. I'm like, because it's not
Goodfellas.
Like, sit and watch it. Everyone thought it was Goodfellas. I'm like, these guys are older now. It's a totally different film, and you just have to not think about the 3 whatever hours that it is, and just get absorbed in it and watch it.
There's no way you can compare Pesci being so reserved and so formal in The Irishman to him as Jimmy in Goodfellas. You can't. It's a completely different, even though it's the same world. See, he's a completely different character. It's great to see him like that. Or Nicky in Casino, like, he's crazy. It was so great to see him on the other side and not the crazy guy. I think it's a great movie. It is a little long, but it is long. But it's a great story, and I kind of believe it. I believe they knocked him off. I feel really awful that his son was involved with it. That part I don't know about that, but knocking off Jimmy Hoffa, who doesn't want to theory and watch about that? That's history.
Yeah, I know.
That's great.
It was really believable.
That house where they kill him too is so, like, they look around, they got the fake rug, like, it's so the vernacular of that neighborhood and everything that you captured in the dressing in that house is perfect. It's perfect.
So the house we had a location for that, like the exterior of the house, and then we built that house on a stage. So it was pretty
oh wow.
Yeah, we built so many sets on that. That was huge builds. Oh my God. So many.
The restaurant, the house, his house, you probably built.
His house, both his homes.
Oh, right.
We had, exteriors that were the locations, and then the interiors we built. Oh my God. Jimmy's office we built. The restaurant we built. We built the restaurant where Robert De Niro shoots.
Oh,
my gosh. We had, I don't even know, like Bob said, 280 sets or something.
Oh.
And we probably built every single hotel room that you saw. They were in so many hotel rooms. We built every hotel room.
Where?
And they were on the stage on Marcy Armory. You couldn't even fit anything in there. Our art director squeezed anything that you possibly could in this stage. Oh, we were flipping set. Oh, we built the interior of the Hojos, hotel room, and the whole diner, that little tiny scene. That was huge.
Oh my God.
Everything was built.
That's crazy. It was
Yeah,
built. It was built.
Massive amount of work.
It was built for camera control, or it was built because you couldn't find the locations. Do you think?
It was built mostly for camera control, I would think, you know, and because we found a lot of the exterior locations that correlated with them. But, you know, some of the places like the hotel rooms, well, one was supposed to be Washington, D.C., one was supposed to be Chicago, you know, one was supposed to be Florida. You know, the Hojo's, I think, was supposed to be in Ohio. But
I like a build. I like the build because it gives us more control. Because you go into a location and there's only so much you can do, or you can't paint, or you can't do something. And I like a build, but it is kind of more work for us sometimes because putting in the layer of.
But I feel like you have more, like you could do more, you know, with a build. Like locations lately, oh my gosh! I mean, locations I find are such a pain in the.
They're the worst.
Ass. To be quite honest, you want to like hang things on walls, and you know you got to find hooks or whatever. Or you have
I own stock and command
10-foot
hooks.
curtains, and you can't put any curtain hardware up, and we got to get stretchers, and the curtains don't fit right, or they're not hanging right.
Yeah,
or, you know
it's constant.
It's annoying sometimes, and like you said, a million mystery boxes because we have to cover so many different things, and there's like but sometimes you can't. You know, you can't help it. We have to go like.
And they can't paint, so then you're decorating a white walls and white it's no, but and then the camera crew gets in there and everything gets messed up anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, that's when I start going. As soon as the camera crew starts moving in, I get like my heart racing. I gotta leave. I have to open set and run.
I'm with you. I leave. I can't. I walk my on-set dresser through it and I leave because I can't take it. I can't take all those.
Because I know I'm going to end up in an argument with somebody, or get your food off the table.
The food is
something. I just got like, ugh. They're moving in. I'm moving out.
The lack of respect for set dressing, just in my 15, 18 years of decorating, has gone down by like 1,000%. I mean, before it was like, maybe you could have water and the director, and now everybody, the DP has his breakfast every morning brought to him on set, eating everywhere. PAs don't give a shit. Like, how many times I've told PAs, you can't drink in here. Sorry, bye. Like, get out. Like, I don't care if you call me a bitch. Get out with the coffee. I don't know who you are, but you need to learn. Get out. That's all.
Yeah, I hear you. That's it's getting worse and worse, and that's why I say like I run, and then things get broken and people don't really care. I'm just like, are you kidding me? You know, it might be how long it's going to take me to replace that, or I get a call in the middle of the night when they're shooting and I'm home from the onset. Oh, so and so broke this.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, are you done? Oh, we're not done shooting. What am I going to do now? I'm like, okay, try to glue the goddamn thing together. I don't know. We have to do something if we saw it already.
Yeah, you don't have any more of these lamps at like 9:30 at night?
Yeah.
No, I don't. It's a location, and I only had 2 of the lamps, and they were rentals, and you broke it. Now I'm screwed. Like, no, I don't. I don't have it. Sorry, I don't work like that. But location work on the Gilded Age. Did you have a lot of locations? Those were all builds, right?
We did. No, we had a lot of builds, but we had a lot of locations also, especially up in Newport. When we were up in Newport, we were shooting in those mansions. And the funny thing is that I was reading a lot of articles that were, written about us, and they would say, oh, they shot in so-and-so, and, they think like we just walked right in and shot as is. No, that's not how it works. When we were shooting, when we were in like Marble House, and we had to remove all their furniture. Their furniture is, it's all like museum quality. You can't just sit in their, so the rooms had to be emptied, and we had to redress everything, So, we had locations, but again, we had to redo it all. I did get lucky in a couple of the places that let me keep their curtains. But I would have to get shears behind them because they were just so rotted, some of them. But no, they were beautiful backdrops, so we had to supply whatever you saw.
How is it in finding that period furniture in New York? Is that
It's not, you know what, it's not the easiest. And when I did the Gilded Age, because of my experience on the Nick and the way we were filming it, you know, everything goes really fast. And I knew I wasn't going to have time to like go out and find a lot of the Victorian or the period furniture that we need and have it reupholstered. And so I was trying to build a prop house, you know, to have resource that we can just get a lot of things. And I went out to LA and I rented a lot from Omega and Premiere and Warner Brothers and Universal. And we had like 3, you know, tractor trailers of furniture sent here. And I set a lot of their stuff up, you know, and I used a lot of it on the permanent sets. And then I had some leftover things that I knew like sets that would be coming up, you know, and I rented a lot from Newell Props here and Eclectic, but and I bought a lot of new things, and when I did have time to reupholster, but you know, that kind of furniture is just hard to get. I think like anywhere now, especially because on the Gilded Age, everything had to be pristine. It had to look new for the time period, you know?
Yeah. I love the difference between the two houses though. Like the contrast, even in the color and the brightness.
Money and the new money. That's how we kind of, you know, separated it all. And was her name Bertha? I'm forgetting. See, I knew I was going to forget names.
I don't know. I just rewatched the last 3 episodes, and I can't tell you anything.
Yeah, so like further, we wanted like that house to be, you know, she lived in like the new money, and that was supposed to be like all like have like the kind of French influence and very like ornate. And the old money, I have to say, I was very partial to that house. I loved the basement. I loved where that was like my favorite set that we built.
Oh, the Russell.
Like the, you know, the darker woods, the Brooks house. Agnes is like where the help was and stuff, like the old kitchen. And like that to me has like more character in it with like all the old wood and stuff like that. But yeah, the director and Bob, and I mean, that was part of the whole thing, is they wanted like to show the new money and the old money of things.
I thought that the ballroom in their house, those curtains are fantastic.
The curtains.
The curtains are phenomenal.
Bob was really happy with the curtains. We found a company in Pennsylvania called Gianti that did all of our curtain work for us, and they and she even came and installed them, and everything draped so beautifully. And
it's hard.
But a lot of like the silks, believe it or not, 2 of the curtains in the dining room, and I think the curtains in, was it Bertha's bedroom? They were actually printed. One was printed by Kravitt on like a polyester.
Oh, wow.
And the other one was from Schumacher.
Oh, nice.
Was it Schumacher or Scala? I'm getting screwed up. Maybe, no, Scalamandre, because, and they had it printed for us. And that stuff, you couldn't even tell. It was like 3D printed. When you flipped it over, you could tell, even though it had a backing, but it wasn't embroidered or anything. It was like half the price of what it should have been. Wow. It was flame proofed, and it was just, because of the polyester, it just like draped unbelievably. So those combinations were just, they made for the most beautiful drapes, and I was really happy with them. And I was happy that I finally made Bob happy with the drapes, because, you know, sometimes you get upholstery that you love, but it just doesn't drape well because it really wasn't meant to be on a drape.
Yes. So, I mean, polyester is a great tip, I'm telling you right now, because there's so many things, even when like the draper will bring fabrics in, or you go and you're picking out and you're like, you try to crinkle it and you're like, I can make this, all right, I can make this work, this is gonna drape, and then you get it done, you're like, ugh, can we add weights to the bottom? Can we like, I brought in my hair straightener and I was like, I want you to crease, can we just crease a little bit so that it like gets those, because it's really hard.
Yeah, or you're creasing it and keeping it like an accordion overnight.
Yes.
And putting it all together.
And they're putting thread through it. Like, it's really hard to get well hung drapery. It really is, like, on the spot.
Yeah.
Those things, you know, they hang there and then they form in a sense. So, yeah, I loved all the drapery on the show. I'm obsessed with.
Well, thank you. That was one of the things we did right. So,
yeah, you did everything right. It's a gorgeous looking show. Even like that scene with when they're looking at all the Edison, they're all in their cars. And the
Oh, we were
Edison.
up in Troy.
And
when they were outside,
yes,
they lit up the town.
I kept thinking, oh, I gotta kill myself. I have to dress all those windows.
No, you know what? I had a really great assistant on that, Pippa Culpepper, who's wonderful, and you should talk to her one day. Now she's like decorating, but so she was in Troy taking care of that whole square for me and all of the windows. There was probably 20 or something windows that she had to do in all of those streets while I was up in Newport. So I can't take credit for any of those for that scene at all, but she was absolutely wonderful. And I had a really great crew there.
And dressing all the cars too.
Yep.
That was great and really interesting.
Yeah, we worked with props on that, so that was fun.
Just because people are in their cars looking at one of the first lighting ceremonies of Edison's light bulb, and all of these cars, everything just sort of lights up. It's just a beautiful scene. I loved it.
Yeah, it was nice. I was there that night for that. That was fun.
How did you like winning the Emmy?
Wow. I have to say, I screamed so loud. I think Bob jumped out of his seat. It was really exciting, I have to say. I really wasn't expecting it at all. At 100% was not expecting it. But we were really happy, to say the least.
Yeah.
It was a huge surprise because, I mean, like I said, TV these days, I think there's a lot of great things out there. And we had, I think our category, we were up against a really, some beautiful shows that I love and I love looking at.
Yeah.
So it was a big surprise. I was just happy to be nominated, but that kind of put the icing, on the cake. So it was fun, especially like I was in LA, obviously for the Emmys, and I was getting my hair done. And the girl who was doing my hair was asking me like where I was going, and I told her, and she was like, "Who are you up against?" And she goes, "Oh, good luck." She goes, "It must be nice to be nominated, though, right?" And I was like, "Well, thanks."
Oh my God, who are you?
She said so nonchalantly. I was like, "Oh, at least she's honest." And then the next day, I took my daughter because she came with me to get her hair done. It must be something with hairdressers. And she asked the same thing. "Oh, where are you going?" Blah, blah, blah. My daughter was telling her. And she was asking me, "Oh, who's in your category?" And I told her, she goes, "Oh, yeah." She goes, "Well, you're not going to win." I said, "Well, thank you."
Shit, now I got to look it up.
Expecting to win.
Well, obviously they don't know our voters. No.
They don't know. It was funny, though.
How I saw that you had worked a couple times with Kristen Z. And then you worked with her when she directed. Am I crazy? Did it say that?
No, I did. So I worked with Christy. A couple of, what did I do with her? The Comedian. And then I did a TV pilot with her. And then she did like this 1 hour, like an HBO special. And she was actually designing that. And Jonathan Demme was supposed to direct it, and her and Jonathan were really good friends, and then Jonathan got sick and he passed away, and she ended up directing that special, and I decorated it. But that was more, it was more like props. It was me like working on the Ricky Lake show, and it was just like getting chairs and tables and little vignettes of things. But it was nice. I like working with Christy.
I hadn't seen it. I'm a huge fan of her work also. And then I was like, "Oh, you worked with her a couple times," and I didn't realize that she directed. And I was like, "How?" I wonder how that was as a designer directing for the Decorator. Like for your experience of like, "Oh, well, now what do you want?" Like.
No, it was really great. And Christy's very, she's really visual and she really explains a lot, and she's another one who knows exactly like what she wants, and I love that.
That's good.
I like working for a production designer who is, sometimes people go, "Oh, it's so much fun, but you have so much leeway, you could do whatever you want." But I mean, I kind of want someone to have some sort of vision or have, tell me something that they like or something that the director wants, because the last thing I want to do is walk on a set and the director hates everything. That's like the worst thing ever.
Yes.
But yeah, Christy's really great. And I know that she also directed a documentary. And I think that's where maybe her heart lies. I know she directed some episodes of New Amsterdam when she was designing that. So I think that's maybe her future.
There's a couple, and I think Bob has directed too, hasn't he?
I'm not sure if Bob has.
Or Jim, maybe
although
Jim.
when I work with him, he has a lot of opinions about that.
Well, there's a few designers I can think of who have directed, and it seems logical at some point, because you visualize everything. You visualize the camera angles. You're visualizing the setting and everything. I think your adjustment is just then talking to the actors and giving them direction. But if you can visualize and how emotions of the scenery, you can certainly tell someone how to feel about it. I think. I don't know, but yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. One of the other projects of yours that I love is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I love that movie.
That was an experience. That was a really fun show to work on.
And the location work, did you do all that? It seems huge.
I didn't get to go to Iceland, unfortunately, but I did shop and send things there.
Nice.
But we did a lot of location work, like in the city, around.
Yeah.
And that was, and we had a lot of builds on that also. We built the Time Life offices.
I love that. I love those offices.
That was another fun project, and I liked working with the designer on that, Jeff Mann. And Ben was really particular, and he had a lot of input as to what his Walter's apartment would look like. And the first time we were dressing it, he was like, "No, this is all wrong." And he walked in, and I remember we had it kind of made it a little bit more stylish, and he was like, "No, he wouldn't have this, and he wouldn't have that," and he wanted more like kind of Salvation Army type things and IKEA, and but he was really involved in this, the look of it. And again, it was nice to have that rapport with the director and making him happy. And it was a fun show.
When does your new show come out?
So Fallout, I'm not sure. I heard rumors that it might come out during the summer, end of summer, or maybe the beginning of 2024.
And that's Amazon, you said?
It's Amazon. Kind of excited about that, especially, it's not, it's not The Last of Us, but it has...
Yeah.
Have you been watching The Last of Us?
Oh, I watched all of it. I talked to that Joe Peno. Oh my God, they built everything.
Oh, John, I worked with John once.
They they built everything, and he was in Canada, and the weather and the locations, and
I watched that show and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how they do it. Oh no, I'm so glad I'm not doing that.
They never. Well, as you start watching it, you're like, they never went back to any. They had no perm sets. They had nothing to fall back on. They had no. Just building towns, and not a huge amount of prep. After episode 1, you're just killing yourself, basically.
Yeah.
You get all that time for the first block. Because then I was like, oh, did you block shoot? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh, yeah, God, I can't. That was a dumb question because I already watched it.
Doing that episodic.
Yeah, it is. Did you like doing apocalyptic? Post-apocalyptic?
I did. It was different. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. All the growth, was there a lot of because that's what I was asking him, the greens and the that type of stuff, or debris.
Well, luckily we have a separate greens department, but our overgrowth, we did have some, not as much as The Last of Us, because there are people living on the surface. Even ours takes place 200 years after the bombs dropped.
Oh wow.
Supposedly, and a lot of people are living in the vaults. Then we have people living up above who are the land dwellers and whatever. Oh, but it has this very distinct look that we tried to replicate from the video game. We tried to be as true to the video game as possible, because these gamers, I'm not sure, when you were doing the research for The Last of Us and your talk to John, these gamers are really, and they're intense and they're huge. They know, they're critics. They're really worried about, these video games being turned into shows. You know, we had Reddits, we had like leaks on our set and people taking photos, and like we had things on the internet, and then people already writing back, you know, this looks great, or oh my God, they're staying true to the game, which you love to read, because I don't want anyone to watch this show and say, oh, it looks horrible, it looks doesn't look anything like the game, and blah blah blah. So we really, the art department, and we really tried to stick, you know, to the whole look of the game, and give the gamers like what they want.
Did you play the game a lot? Did you have to?
I'm not really I'm really good at Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah, there you go.
Other video games, I don't know how to do the controller. So I had my son, you know, like play the game and print out a lot of photos for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had a great researcher that did it, and there were a lot of great Fallout. You know, you can find out Fallout, like they have a great book out, and they have some great stuff on the internet. So finding research for it was really easy.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I forget, he was like, there was just tons of illustrations that he had, or like the, I guess it was also, I guess a comic book, and or just the illustrations he had from the developer and the creator of it.
Yeah, we had all that too from Bethesda. Ours is made by Bethesda, so they gave us a lot of access to all of their files and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great.
Which is great.
It's great for palette.
And the show's kind of fun. It's bloody, but it's like fun.
Oh God. What are you watching anything good that you like inspiring wise?
I'm a huge fan of Succession.
Me too. I only watched half of last night's first episode.
Yeah. I was so excited, but I told George DeTita, who was the decorator, that I'm really sad to see that go, because I love the way that show looks.
Me too.
The Last of Us, I have to say, I love, you know, I love all the overgrowth and stuff like that. What else am I watching? Oh my God.
That's all. There's not a lot on.
Yellow Jackets. I love Yellow Jackets. That just started up again.
You know what? I don't really have Showtime. I hate to say that, but then like the Emmy times, I get the screeners, and that's when I catch up on like Showtime stuff.
I really love Yellowstone and the spin-offs of that. The
they're
1923
so
and 18. I think they're done really well. Yeah. I think they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably so many that I'm missing, but there's so much out today.
I know. Well, there's so much out, but then I absorb it all. I like watch it. So then I'm like, oh, I'm not watching anything because I already ticked off, like, you know, all of that. So, but yeah, there's a show that I'm telling everyone, it's called Hello Tomorrow on Apple.
Oh, I love how that's George also.
Yes. It's fantastic. It's like just so imaginative, and the sets are fantastic. I loved it. And then the story's good, and it keeps your attention, and you know, I don't know where it's going to go, but I liked it.
I'm glad you reminded me, because I watched like 4 episodes of it. I have to watch the rest.
Yeah, I like that.
And Severance, I really love the way Severance looked. I'm looking forward to season 2 on that.
I know. When's that come out? It's been like a year.
I think they're filming that right now, so I'm not sure when that's coming back out. Yeah, I don't know. I also love, oh my God, why am I, My Brilliant Friend on HBO, the Italian Neapolitan series. I love the way that looks, and that goes through a lot of different time periods. So I'm waiting for that to come out.
Yeah, there's so much good work. There's so much going on. It's so great. It's such a great time. I always feel like, oh my God, I'm really lucky that I am in this at this time. So Regina and I actually talked probably 45 minutes to an hour after the interview, and we just discovered like we have a lot in common. We just both got a puppy, or you know, like jobs, or like where we're from, or it was just very nice to chat with someone that I would never have gotten to without this podcast probably, or you know, New York, what am I never getting there to like go to an STSA meeting or something. So it was great to connect with her and just to ooze my wonderment and appreciation for the Irishman, or like, you know, the Gilded Age, like all of her work has just been so influential and so inspiring. So I'm so glad you got to hear her story and about her process. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, I told you coming up, we have a bunch of production designers for Emmy contention. And also, what else? I have a couple, but I didn't announce them because I get scared. You know, I've talked about I get scared, and then I don't get those. I announce them, and then I don't get to do the interview, and then you're left hanging, and I don't want to do that to you. So I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Monop for Decorating Pages.